Sweatshops is where people who work in factories are forced to work long hours for very little pay, because there is no other way to earn a living. They also work with the dangerous conditions, dirty working environments, which led to disease and no health insurance. Today, sweatshops can be found all over the world, although they are an especially big problem in developing nations. Most sweatshops are in Vietnam, China, and Indonesia, and mostly women are the victims since they are in the garment industry where they sew underwear and other items. Sweatshops are also in Mexico. People who work in sweatshops in Mexico get an average of $3 a day and $200 in a year. And they are expected to create 1 to 2,000 jeans or shoes in a day, depending on the product a factory produces. According to a recent Cambodian living wage study, garment workers need $96 a month to support their families, instead of the $61 the factory was paying them. In some countries, the majority of workers are children, and they are forced to work for long hours. They are also forced to use unsafe machines which can lead to death. They also live in a shared housing far away from their families. Many female factory workers cannot risk becoming pregnant for fear of being fired. Some supervisors treat the family workers so severely that they must return to work sooner than 2 weeks after giving birth, or they lose their jobs. The International Labour Organization has estimated that of the 250 million children, 61% in Asia, 32% in Africa, and 7% in Latin America work in sweatshops. Many of these children are forced to work. They are denied an education and a normal childhood. Some are confined and beaten. Some are denied the right to leave their workplace and go home for their families. Some are even abducted and forced to work. Workers in sweatshops are still working because they are poor, and a couple of dollars a week is enough to keep them living, so that they can keep working with no opportunities of education or choice to live this lifestyle. In fact, 22 million children die annually due to the bad conditions in sweatshops. In sweatshops in Cape Town, there are only 3 toilets for about 2,000 workers. Workers in sweatshops can be fined on a daily basis. In sweatshops, workers are fined for arriving late, taking too long in the toilet, forgetting to turn lights off, and making some mistakes. A fine can cost up to 2 months' pay. There are some shops that use sweatshops. For example, Forever 21, Nike, Adidas, Chanel, Gap, Ralph Lauren, and Zara. I am exhausted to death now. None of us have time to go to toilet or drink water. The supervisors are pressuring and nagging us all the time. We are tired and dirty. We work without stop, and we are still reported by the supervisors, said worker making shoes in China. In India, a 9-year-old girl toiled under the hot sun, making bricks from morning to night, 7 days a week. She was trafficked with her entire family from Bihar. Bihar is one of the poorest and most underdeveloped states in India, and sold to the owner of a brick-making factory. With no means of escape and unable to speak the local language, the family is isolated and lives in the terrible conditions. I think that all countries over the world must go hand in hand to stop sweatshops, and people should stop buying clothes from any shop that uses sweatshops.